No, no, and I think that's the most important advice I'll probably get of anything. Because I mean, look, you can say, because you know you know what you're doing with trading. It's you. I mean, every month I look at my max losses and think, did I have more losses under $1,000 this month? Maybe last month I took three. The month before, the month like 2 months ago I took three. The last month I took two. This month I only took one over 1,000. So you always, the obvious stuff, you're obviously trying to get your losses lower, trying to get your gains bigger. But yeah, the most important thing is probably to have something on the side, just to have some other income on the side. Because if, like, you'll be the same as me, if it doesn't matter how much money you've got behind you, if you're not moving forward, yep, it's terrible.
Welcome back to the Steady Trade podcast, everyone. It's the old days. It's a throwback episode. So today it's just Steven and I today. Kim is actually celebrating her birthday, so happy birthday to Kim if you're out there listening. Hopefully she's still listening to the podcast. But yeah, it's just Steven and I, and the topic today is one. You know, we've had a couple different topics. Steven and I were chatting back and forth a little bit, but then. I was reading his Twitter feed and he's been talking about his kind of transition that he's going through. And I was like, hey, let's talk about that, because at the end of the day, kind of like I don't know about everyone, but most people come to trading because maybe they're bored with their job. Maybe they don't like their job. Maybe they're just kind of looking for something else, or heck, maybe they like their job. They're just looking for that kind of next phase. I mean, I think Steven still enjoys the work he does, but he's kind of embarking onto a new phase. And it kind of reminded me of me back in 2013, when I left, sold my business to my business partner because, the business is doing well. Business is still there today, booming. Actually, oddly enough, my son works there during the summer. So the business is still doing well, but it wasn't as inspiring to me as the market is. I mean, it's like there's something about the market that just gets its hooks into you. And that being said, Steven is kind of, I think I'll let him tell the story, obviously, but I think he's kind of taken a hiatus from work because the trading's been going well. And I wanted to talk about that because, and Steven actually made a great point. He's like, hey, we documented all of the failures of Steven over the last 3 years, the account blow-ups, let's talk about the good, let's focus on the good. And he's seen consistent results all this year. We're recording in August. He's been having a great year. And so let's focus on the success. So Steven, what's going on, my man?
Yeah. It's funny. I always get a little bit shy when I talk about myself for some reason, but
it's funny. Like I'll talk about, it doesn't bother me at all to talk about mistakes, like screw ups. But man, I just
successes are
hard. Yeah, like when people start giving me compliments, I'm like, knock it off. I don't like that.
Yeah, no, it's a funny one. But I mean, basically it's a lot of things all came to a head at the same time. So in Dubai, for the last 3 years, I've just been every year when my rent comes up, because every year you've got your rent up, and I've got my rent up in August, and every year I'm like, this is the last year I'm done. Like I should have left probably 3.
How long have you been?
8 years.
Oh,
8
wow.
years out, yeah.
I did not. I would. I'm sure we've talked, but I would have guessed. You would have asked me, Tim, how long do you think I was in Dubai? I would have said 4 or 5 or something. I didn't realize it was 8. So.
Yeah, I know. And honestly, the first 3 were kind of board parties, house parties, nightclubs, bands, clubs, boozing, hungover as hell in work the next day, but it didn't matter because if you ultimately screw it up, you're just going to go back to England and none of it matters. So it's like a free double life. But once you get used to that, and Dubai's transient, groups of friends come and go, then you get tired of making new friends because they only go.
Because Dubai is very, you mentioned that transient. There's
hugely transient.
It's very, people just kind of come there for 6 months or a year and then leave, right?
Yeah. You'll get people who'll do 5-6 years, but not many. Everyone does 2 to 3.
Exactly.
I did a bit longer. But every year was me last, and the only thing that was keeping us here was me job in advertising. Because I thought I can't go from working for the big agency, big clients, like we working for the top brands like Audi, pitching for Audi, KLM Airlines, Pringles, Kellogg's, all the top brands. I was like, how can I go to that back to me home city, where I'm doing like regional, very small regional clients? And I just thought I can't go back to that. So that made us stuck here. But more of a long story short, like trading over the last 12 months has been really consistent. Over the last 6 months, it's been really, really, really positive and strong as well. Add to that, I got a new boss who turned out to be a bit of a dick. Like,
I didn't know that again.
No, he's okay. Like he's okay, but like I don't hate anyone. I don't hate anyone, but he's
just not the kind of guy you want to work for.
Nah, he's the type of guy who's like, you come in on your days off, come in on your leave days. You have to work your leave days. If you've got a doctor's appointment, why are you going to the doctor's? Just cancel it. We've got this instead. Like, I'm not even joking. And I just thought, look, I want a life. I don't want to be working every minute of the day. So a few things came to a head, and just trading was going well. And I thought, right, it's time to leave Dubai. I've been here too long. I can afford to leave advertising now because trading's coming through. And I thought, well, what shall I do? Shall I get a job back in Newcastle, or shall I trade? And I thought, well, average salary in Newcastle is about $2,000 to $3,000 a month. And my trading's like $7,000 to $10,000 to $12,000 to $13,000 a month I'm bringing in over the last 6-7 months. And I'm just like, it would be a disadvantage to get a job because I'd be earning 3 or 4 times less.
Right.
So my thought was, until trading proves otherwise, that it's not more profitable than a job, then I don't see it wouldn't make sense not to do it for my job.
Sure.
And that's kind of where I'm at. So it's weird. I don't want to be like, oh, I'm moving to trading full time, because I don't want to say that. I don't want to put that in my head. I'm just going to do it until it proves otherwise, that it's not the best option.
Well, and that's what's nice about that is, again, you've got a skill, you can, whether it be Newcastle or London or New York or LA or Chicago or wherever, you've got a marketable skill. So that's something I like. Again, everyone knows I'm Mr. Cautious, and I beg everyone to put in the time, build skills, multiple sources of income and stuff like that, because you might go through a bad streak in trading, or you might have a blow up, and if you have like 0 marketable skills, it's going to be tough. You got to go work at the local lumber yard, because you didn't, now the nice thing is you can try this, and I think you'll do great because you put in the work, you put in the time. But worst case scenario, there's a million marketing agent, there's a billion marketing agencies out there.
Yeah.
And you've got a passport, you can travel, you can fall back on that. So
yeah, but I'm also a huge believer in developing different revenue streams. And I mean, that's what I've done with kind of like YouTube and advertising and trading. Like, I've got multiple revenues of income coming in at all times.
Yep.
And it's just, and honestly, us being trading nerds, we don't spend any of the money. You can say I don't wear expensive clothes, I don't have a watch, I don't have a chain. I don't buy stuff.
This is an Under Armour shirt, but I promise you, my wife got this at TJ Maxx. Okay, I don't know if you know what TJ Maxx is, but that's like when the shirt comes out of like big stores, it goes to TJ Maxx, and my wife buys it for like $20. So I'm cheap as hell, man.
No, but this is actually a free T-shirt I got off my brother's company because the company didn't sell very well. They didn't sell the T-shirts very well. But look, I haven't been spending money over the last 3 years, but I've had it coming in from different areas. So look, I've managed to save up a really, really good amount, more than I ever thought I could save. So I'm good. I'm set for the next 2 or 3 years if I really wanted to be. But obviously, I wouldn't go into savings like that. But I'm set for like a good 2-3 years anyway.
Yep.
But it's just, so I'm in a good position to just let it ride and see how it goes.
And it's interesting because I compare our journeys very similar. So, I mean, I know I should know this by now, but like, what would you, is it 3.5 years? How like from the first time you were like, I want to learn day trading, where are you at?
The first time I wanted to learn day trading, because I wouldn't even know this, but I checked the first video on YouTube, and do you know how I've done a weekly thing? The first video when I first saw the Tim Sykes ad was June June 2018. So it's 19, 20. No, it must have been, it's been 4 years. So what's that? June, it's been June to June. So it's 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay. Yeah, it's like June 2017 was the first, when I first saw Tim Sykes ad.
So
4 years.
So for me, you know, I found Tim Sykes 2007, 2008, roughly. It's too long ago. I can't remember which it was, but I think it was, if I remember right, it was like late 2007, like winter or something. So basically 2008. So when I first started thinking about leaving the business was 2012. Oddly enough, four years in. Now, when you're the business owner, it's not quite as easy as just, you know, saying, "Hey, I'm not coming in on Monday." You know, you got to unwind things. Now, the cool thing is, you know, my business partner and I had a great relationship. We're still friends to this day. But again, you can't just say I'm done on Monday. So it took me probably a year and a half to negotiate the buyout, you know, to clear the loans, get me off the paperwork, you know, all this stuff you got to do when you're a co-owner. Yeah. But it's funny. It was basically at 4 years was where I was like, yeah, I want to do this. And if it just took me a year and a half to unwind everything. So it's kind of weird that it's the same time frame. So.
Yeah, no, but I mean, and there's lots of different ways you can think about it, because it's difficult to kind of rationalize it in your head as well. But I mean, look, if I just thought about it the other day, I was like, I'm up like 42,000 on the year so far, and I'm like, that's a good salary for the entire year in England. So even if I made no money for the rest of the year, even if I made nothing, it's still a very good year, and it would be like just working full time in England. So it's difficult. Like, I'm moving country, I'm leaving jobs, I'm like just focusing more on trading. I'm leaving friends behind. It's a huge load of transitions, but I think it's all for the best. And I'm honestly, because the last few months I've been much less involved in work and more or less part time the last few months. I've learned more in these last few months than I have in probably the last few years. Honestly, just by really zeroing in and really things are clicking.
I hate to kind of repeat the same point again, but it was like for me, once in 2012. When I started that process, man, I was checked out. You know, I was still in the office, but I was like, whatever. I'm like, you know, I went from like following the markets a few hours a day to like all day long, because I checked out at that point.
Because you can, though. But yeah, I mean, and it's difficult because like you've got your boss and you've got the team. And like I was very senior. I was the most senior in my team, of like a team of 8 or 9, just underneath the executive creative director. So you couldn't check out because it's letting the team down, sure. But you are mentally checked out anyway. You just mentally checked out. You're like, I don't give a shit about advertising anymore, because like, look, when I trade, it's exciting. But the only thing is, when you take a loss and you know that this might be your income. I mean, because look, you would have sold the business, you would have took a lump sum. Like, it's the same for me. I've got a lump sum pension, and I've got a lump sum savings. But it's still like, if I take $1,000 loss, I'm like, oh
yeah, because that number, you know, because, you know, like you said, you know, that number is just a number, and at least when you're working, there's a paycheck coming in. Yeah, it goes and now you've got that number, and you lose $1,000, all of a sudden that number's smaller. Yeah.
Well, you're not trading for fun anymore, and that's the other crazy thing. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, like, it takes the fun out of trading. It doesn't really take the fun out of trading, but say I'm trading. And like, say today I made like $1,500 I closed today, and I just feel relieved. I don't get excitement out of $1,500. I don't get excitement out of $1,000. Do you remember the $1,000 days when you used to be like, lock it in, don't trade? That's what you used to say to us when I had the first few $1,000 days. I don't get that fun. I don't get happiness from the profits anymore. I get relief.
Yep. Well, and I think that's, you know, that's a sign of maturity and stuff. And I think that's why, you know, I think that's the journey you need to make. And we all, I mean, listen, I'm sure I got into it because of the adrenaline. I'm sure 99% of people get into it for the adrenaline, but at some point it needs to just be, this is my work now. This is my job now. Yes, I enjoy it. Yes, I'm interested in it. Always something new every day, but it's my job. And whether you're an engineer or a doctor or a lawyer or a marketing person, you know, it's like, it's stimulating, it's interesting, but it's my job. I need to take this seriously. and it's not about popping champagne and stuff, you know.
But I mean, look, the next 6 to 12 months will be very interesting.
So what is your timeline? So because again, I didn't even know, I know we talk on the podcast a lot, but we're both busy and stuff. I didn't even know you were making this move. So what's your timeline?
So my last day at work was pretty much yesterday. So
okay.
I was done with, and it was a stressful, horrible day, and loads of things went wrong, and I was just like, thank God, I don't have to deal with this anymore. So I mean, that my last day was yesterday, so that's a weight off my shoulder. And then tomorrow I've got a big, like a leaving party for leaving the company and leaving the country as well. 31st, I've got a flight back to Newcastle.
Okay, so a week away. No,
got about 4 days left in the Middle East. Okay. It is a miracle. I've not been in prison here once in 8 years. So I mean, that's a joke. I don't do anything bad. But so yeah, I'll be flying out on the 31st. I'll be back in Newcastle, and then I'll probably stay at home for a couple of weeks, and then I might fly out to a few different places in Europe, because Europe's like pretty relaxed with coronavirus. There's some self-isolations, but I'll travel to some of the cheaper places in Europe, using me home as a base, my parents' house. I'll check in and out for maybe 1, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then the plan is, as long as trading continues as it is, as soon as coronavirus sorts itself out, as soon as the vaccine gets out, I'll try and get myself around Mexico and around America, and I'll stay at your house for a few days. And
beautiful.
I mean, the idea is to like maybe just meet up with a lot of the YouTube fans. Everyone on YouTube and StocksToTrade who supported us.
Yeah.
Just meet up with some people and just
some that's the biggest thing.
Have some meals, see some places.
That's the biggest thing that bums me out about with the Corona story. We're not gonna we're not gonna have a conference this year, and normally it's in September.
I'm so disappointed about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
I was desperate to come.
Yeah, it's one of the highlights of the year for me.
It is a highlight of the year.
It's awesome. It's fun, but I mean, I guess it is what it is. We'll have a bigger one in 2021, I guess.
But the thing with the conference is, like, I'll work with you all of the time. I'll work with Kim, happy birthday to her, all of the time. But there's some people in the background of StocksToTrade. Obviously, Tim Sykes, I listen to him on his audio all of the time for different webinars and stuff. All of the traders who are making money, I talk to all of the guys like Kyle and Jack and Papa John, who are all in the challenge room as well. You get to see them all at once. It's the most fun ever. And obviously Tim Bertani and Roland. So it's like a holiday. It's like a holiday reunion every year.
Well, yeah, and it's like it's one thing to sit there and message them or text back and forth, but it's like, man, it's like, yeah, it bums me out. But I guess
you've got the
it is what it is. So.
I mean, I've got to say, my dream, and look at Papa John. Papa John, we had him on the podcast when he was up 30,000. He's up 200,000 now since he's gone full time. And imagine he had 2 kids. I think he's got a couple of kids and stuff.
Yeah,
like
little
that
ones.
Well.
Yeah, yep.
Little kids and a mortgage. And like for me, I have the clothes on my back that my brother makes, and I haven't really got any outgoing, so it's good. But I mean, just to put it to the audience, I mean, when would you say, because everyone's dream who takes up trading, most people's dream is to get out of work.
Yeah.
It's to get out of work and live the life they want. I mean, how do you think people should get there? I mean, I know I've kind of got there, but like, how do you think people, is that the right question? How do people get there? Or when when's safe for them to do it?
Listen, this is, I know we already talked about how annoying compliments are, but this is my answer. Do what Steven did, Yeah. I mean, it's like, whether you do it publicly or not, but I mean, you took 4 years to do it. You stayed diligent. You blew up many times. You made a million different mistakes, but you stuck with it, and you didn't try and do it in a year. You weren't like, I'm leaving the agency in 2018 or 2019. It took you 4 years. It took, like I said, it took me 4+. I mean, it's just emulate that. I mean, here's the thing. It's all on YouTube. Steven did it all. Start at the beginning and do what he did. I mean,
I tell
a compliment to you, man. I mean, you came from zero. I mean, I really don't think you'll be offended by this. I mean, you came from zero. Okay. My journey was a little bit different in that I've been reading, trading books. I tell this story all the time about my life. I just wish we had the internet when I was 20. I probably would have been trading back then. I always had this interest. I mean, you went from more or less zero to now leaving your job in 4 years. I mean, that's like the dream for everyone. So follow Steven Johnson would be my.
Just watch week 1, week 2, week 3, week
Exactly.
4, up to like week 200 and whatever the week is. But it's I mean, it's not.
And you'll see, and you know, in the podcast, I mean, you'll see the anguish, you know, and you know, I apologize, but I've got a million things to do. I've never really watched your YouTube videos, but I gotta believe there's a lot of anguish on those things, and you know, and just know that that's going to be your journey too. I mean, well, I hate to say nobody. There might be a couple people, but I mean, it's everybody's journey's the same. I mean, you can read like LX21's bio, you know, Greg Ciabatta, great guy. I mean, you know, everyone, it's like the anguish and the pitfalls. And it's like, so that's, follow Steven Johnson on YouTube and watch every video. There you go. So.
Yeah, no, but it's funny that you say that, because I was dating a girl for a few months recently. And obviously, I try not to tell people, I try not to tell anyone I'm dating that I'm on YouTube, because the first thing they do is go through all the videos, right? And they don't watch the middle, which is the important trading knowledge. They watch the start and the watch the end, which is like the introduction and the outro. And she said it was like, do you have like depression problems? And I'm like, nah, not really. I'm okay. Like we've talked about on the mental health episodes, I'm up and down sometimes, but I'm pretty good. Like, can't complain. I've got a good life. Now I have no one to answer to. I make good money. Like, we've got a cool podcast. I've got some good family. I've got no problems. And she was like, I've watched all of your old YouTube videos, and you're depressed and miserable on every single one of them. And I'm like, yeah, I don't watch them because I was like, it was terrible. Losing every single week is terrible. I'll never forget, like, there's a marina next to where I live, and I used to run around the marina most nights, like 8, 9 o'clock during the lunch hour after taking a loss. And I ran around that marina for years, saying one day I will run around this marina as a profitable trader. And I ran around that marina for years in the dark, years, just hoping, praying, willing it on to happen. And one day I'll be profitable. One day I'll get there. I know I can do it. And then now I can run around that marina and think, did it. You know what I mean? Now I run around that marina and think, did it.
You know, we recorded an episode last week where I brought out my journals from those early years, and you know, I think I held them up to the camera, but if you're on audio, I mean, you'd see. I mean, I'm just like, you know, like letters this high, you know, don't do that, you know, and just like screaming at myself. And you know, in these journals, I didn't record it like you did, but yeah, it's like, it sucks, man. It sucks in the beginning, and nothing works, and you know, and it's like. And then you go on social media, and this guy trades the same stock you did and makes 50 grand, and you're like, well, I lost 500, you know, or I lost 2/3 of my account on the same stock, and he made 50 grand. It's like, what am I doing wrong? You know, the same stock.
No, but I mean, and look, and there's nothing more frustrating. And even I'll trade now, and I'll see people making, like, say I'll make $1,000 off 1,500. I'll see other people making 50 grand, and I'm like, why are they? Why are they? But if I can, a good analogy for trading is trading. Honestly, it's a journey of a billion steps. It's a journey of a billion little steps, and you go from trading the ticker on step 1 absolutely horrifically to a billion steps later. You absolutely nail every which way that pattern can play out based on the daily and the volume and the news and the sector and the overall volume in the market on that day. But it's a billion steps to perfection. That's just some kind of a way I think about it sometimes. And the first million, you're going to be pretty bad. But as you go on, you'll pick up little things here, there, and everywhere. But again, it ultimately it comes down to the daily and the intraday and the volume. It just comes down to those 3 things ultimately. But you've been running a long time though. So what happened? How did your journey go from quitting the business in your first year's trading?
So, you know, basically when I first left, it was bad for, probably 1.5 years. But, you know, I talk about that, you know, those were what I call the dark days of day trading. You know, this is, you know, it's funny how, you know, it was really busy kind of 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010. Now all of a sudden I go full time, and things slowed down a lot for several years.
Wow.
And
Several years, not even
yeah.
days. Like it's days now. We're talking years. It's not days, it's years.
And it was just like, the biggest issue was you're putting, I'm like, listen, at that point, again, I took the buyout. I was sitting fine, but it's like, I got little kids. I got a mortgage. It's like, okay, I'm freaking, at that point I'd be 42. I got a lot of life ahead of me here, So a lot of forced trades. That's going to be the one big thing I'm going to warn you about. I think you're going to find that is you're going to find now, you're at your parents' house. And again, nothing wrong with that. You're going to be sitting there. Again, you got that checking account number or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you don't have to go to work that day. You don't have to do anything that day. See, that's what I ran into because, you know me, I'm a grinder. I'm the guy that wants to I always want to be doing something. Always want to be doing something. And all of a sudden, no business, phone's not ringing, not getting 75 freaking emails a day. I'm like, I need to make something happen. I need to do something. And it was slow and struggle. A lot of just back and forth. And then, thank goodness, kind of 2015, things started picking up. But it was rough those first couple of years, man. Just a lot of just back and forth. So.
Yeah, no, but that's almost because the market's not running enough. But luckily we don't have that problem now. But yeah, what was I going to say? I think I've just lost the train of thought what I was going to say. But it's just, like I say, I might do some freelance stuff. I might do some freelance advertising. I'm not gonna rule that out.
I know I'm 60 years older than you, but my advice would be, to look at something like that, because I think that number one, again, you're a very active guy. You got a lot of things going on, and if it's something that you can do, we do the podcast, but that's an hour a week, but it's something that you can do when you're, you fire up your scanners and there's like, okay, there's nothing here. And then that was the mistake I made a lot was, like I said, I was like, I need to make something happen today because I didn't have anything to do at that point. I was retired. I'm like, hey, so that would be the one tidbit of advice I would give you is look for those freelancing gigs where if you're like, man, there's nothing, I'm going to work on this project today. So.
Yeah. No, and I think that's the most important advice I'll probably get, if anything, because look, you can say, because you know what you're doing with trading. Every month I look at my max losses and think, did I have more losses under $1,000 this month? Maybe last month I took 3. The month before, like 2 months ago I took 3. The last month I took 2. This month I only took 1 over 1,000. So you always, the obvious stuff, you're obviously trying to get your losses lower, trying to get your gains bigger. But yeah, the most important thing is probably to have something on the side, just to have some other income on the side, because if, like, you'll be the same as me, if it doesn't matter how much money you've got behind you, if you're not moving forward, it's terrible.
See, and that's well said, because that's, again, okay, let's say like day one I retired. I get that, nice payment, not complaining, but it's like, I'm like, okay, now what? I got to be moving forward. And I very well said. I think that's where, I whether you call it bad luck or not, I had to be moving forward, and I was trying to move forward during the slow market, and it fucked with me. I tell you, it wasn't fun for a while.
Yeah, no, for sure. Look, I still love advertising. I still enjoy it. I still like meeting ad people. Like it's a good group of people, and so I will do that back home, or I'll go travel a little bit, and we'll see which way. But the ultimate, for me and for my future, I guess, if we're talking about it, I'd say, look, I had a 4-year. I've took 4 years to get to the point where I could consistently make money in the market. I've got 1 more year here, 1 more year to get to my 5th year, where I want to feel where, all right, I can actually do this trading thing full time. I'm very comfortable. I'm totally self-sufficient, and I can rely on it. So I'd like to say it's a 5-year plan, which it is a 5-year plan. 5's a nice number. It's a 5-year plan to be an established full-time trader. And I've got this 1 year of purgatory, maybe. I don't know if purgatory is the right word, but I've got this 1 year just to feel it out, put more time into it, study a lot more. And that's the other thing. Studying never stops, eh?
Nope.
Studying never stops. What more year to study?
I got 6 trading books over there right now. You know, it's like you're never done, man. You got to always be grinding, always be working on it. So,
but would you say your learning curve? Because look, like when you're new and there's tons to learn, your learning curve should be like this, right? How's your learning curve all these years on?
Well, I mean, it's like, you know, it's like to me, it's a difficult question. You know, it's like, because it's every book I read, I feel like I pull something out of it, you know, whether it be, you know, like, I don't know, for, you know, one of your favorites came to mind, like Trading in the Zone. It's like, I read that, a year ago, and it's like, wow, you know, it's like, because it's just like, I don't know if there's anything, maybe like medicine, I don't, you know, or I guess law is like that. I mean, you're not, you know, like if you're a lawyer, you're never just like done reading case law or something like that. Now, you might be the greatest lawyer in the world, but you still got to study. You still got to know what's happening, and et cetera. So I don't know. I feel like you said, it's like it spikes, flatlines, spikes, flatlines. Yeah. But now I feel like I'm just my goal is to gradually uptrend. I want to learn something new every day, something about myself, something about the markets, you know, emotion, you know, it's like, I mean, 15 years in, there's still stuff I'm like, oh, I didn't think of that, you know. So
yeah, no, but another good question is like, so say I've been 4 years in now, specific patterns play, like I've seen the same patterns, like I've seen the same patterns play out the same way, and I've noticed it for like a couple of years now. So I can generally think on this daily, performing in this way intraday, if it does this, it's going to do that. If it does this, it's going to do that. If it does that and that, it's going to do this. Like, I'm not really surprised too much by the market on the patterns that I know. So if I'm like that after 4 years, I mean, are you like a wizard or some shit on 15 years? Like, are you just like, I've seen this a billion times?
I think it's, you know, again, I think it's like you said, it's like, I mean, it's still the same stuff because, you know, it
doesn't change really.
Yeah. And when I talk about constantly learning, it's more about yourself and your reactions and stuff. But yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, you and I are looking at the same patterns. It's just, but your reaction to the patterns, you know, could you have timed it better? You know, could you have kept that loss smaller? Could you have looked at this and maybe not missed this? And it's just tweaking, you know, and no one's a master of it. But just you want to constantly be tweaking it. So like, I mean, I think of it like an athlete, okay? It's like I don't care how good of an athlete you are, you still got to be working on your conditioning, working on your nutrition, working on, you know, you're tweaking things. So because I think if you get lazy, that's when you're really going to fall back and, you know, and then the quote unquote, the market's going to humble you. Because if you get lazy, if you're not trying to get a little bit better every day, that's the people that all of a sudden disappear 5 years in. So
no, but I mean, I save every chart and I save every trade. I mean, you have to go back during the month, throughout the week, at the end of the month. Yes, sometimes you have to go back at last month. But the other interesting thing is when you get more experienced over the years, and I'm sure you'll agree on this, new traders, when they look at the tape and the stuff, they're like, the tape is here and it's like, they're looking at the candle. Their full focus is on the candle. They're like, I've got to get it out. The more years you have in the game, the more you can score all the way back.
I think that's a great point. Yeah. It's like you're, you know, it's almost like in the movies where they kind of like do that, where it's like, boom.
Yeah, you zoom.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah. And it's just like, you're less panicky. You're like, okay, I've seen this before. And well said. So,
but do you not find though that you can be like, do you know what it is? I've got this house. I've got my house down the road. I've got some money in the bank. I'm safe. I'm just going to take 30% on this one, because you can start taking bigger percentages because you've got more conviction and the faith in the patterns. Mm-hmm. So do you not find like, I'm just going to take 30% on this just for the hell of it? Because I've seen it.
Well, I mean, I always just, again, I'm just not, I always just try and focus on that chart, focus on that plan, and just stick to it, and it's like, but I'm super conservative, it's just like, and it's like, I mean, we were going to talk about swing trades today, and we'll save that for another day. I had like 6 worksheets on these swing trades where my exit was like $5 from the top on like a $7 stock, but it's like, I just think that that's the way to approach. And I'm just not a gunslinger. I'm a boring old man, and that's what's served me well. So,
but one thing I'm sure you'll agree with: take the move, leave a quarter on. Just leave a quarter.
Yep.
Just leave a quarter on. Just see where it goes and what it does. But yeah. So I mean, that's my update. I guess it's the reason I didn't really tell you is because I was a little bit like nervous about it and shy about it. I'm like, all right, let's just see if I can get it to work, and then I'll tell people after it's worked. But then when you brought, like, I was putting it on Twitter and stuff, and then it came out anyway. So, but I mean, I'm interested to see where I am in 6 months. It'll be very interesting. It'll make one hell of an episode if I blow everything up.
Well, and
it'll be a great episode.
And it's funny because, like, if we were having this conversation 2 years ago, I'd be screaming at you, chewing your ass. Yeah. But it's like this, and this might be the biggest takeaway for you, the listener. Okay. What Stephen is, what he's done, it's August. He has shown consistent results for 8 months, the entire year. Now, next month might be bad. I hope it isn't, but maybe it is. But he's got this track and longer, but I'm just kind of focusing on recent history, an 8-month consistent track record. I'm not going to scream at him about, leaving his job. It's like he proved he can do it. What we see, him and I both see it, is, 1 week, 1 month, and people are like, leaving the job next month. It's like, oh God, man. Yes, maybe you made $100,000 in a month. It's 1 month. Steven's put in 4 years and 8 months of consistent. I mean, basically every month was roughly the same, right?
Yeah.
I mean, profits wise. So that shows to me. Now, if he had like huge big months and then like big bad months, again, I might be saying, man, are you sure? But what I love about this year is like every month is just like a cookie cutter version of the other month. Maybe $1,000 here, $1,000 there. But that shows me that he's he's got a process. He's got a system. He's the steady trader, baby.
What a way to end it.
Yeah.
And just for people to know as well, I didn't even want to do it now. My rent contract is up in August. If I renew, I have to renew for another year. I don't want to stay in the country another year. So I'm not thinking I had 8 good months. I'm going to trade full time. It's just so happened that I'm leaving the country. I'm in a situation where I'm like, do I get another job? Well, there's not really much point when I'm in a double, triple trading. So I may as well do it for now. Do you know what I mean? So I don't even want to tell people to quit the jobs if they've replicated my success, because even for me, I'm worried it's too early.
Right.
But it's just, this is life. This is the way life works out. So now's the time.
Great point. Because that, again, that's my thing. Because, man, number one, I wish you the best, and we'll be working together, and but my biggest concern is it does shift the mindset, and because I lived it, okay, and this is I'll leave it with this to all of you. I mean, it's like, if you can, okay, there's nothing wrong with having a day job in trading, especially, and you guys hear me say it all the time, especially if you got like health insurance, okay, if you got benefits. I mean, the market doesn't give you any benefits, okay, so. And especially if you got a family, like I do. And what's nice about Steven is, he doesn't have to worry about kids, a wife, etc. So I think you're doing it the right way, though. Again, you're single, the lease is up, you've been there for 8 years, you've got consistent results, you're doing it for the right reasons is what I'm getting at. So to you, dear listener, just make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. And you know what? Maybe you hate your boss, but maybe you got good health insurance. Maybe you got a 401k. Maybe you're in a very stable industry. hey, coronavirus, et cetera, there's a lot of people that there's a lot of people out there that would be happy to have a job with a boss they hate. At least they got a job.
Yeah.
So that would be my biggest thing. So that's my why I wanted to talk about this and why I commend you, because I think you're doing it for all the right reasons. You're not doing it because you want a Lamborghini. Okay. So.
No, and the best advice me oldest brother Neil ever gave me was never, no matter how much you hate a job, never quit it until you've got another job. No matter how much you hate it, no matter how bad it is, just get through every day and quit it when you've got another job. Don't ever quit and not have a job. Never, unless you're rich. There's a lot of rich people out there, right? There's a lot of rich people. I'm not one of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's a wrap. So I mean, look, I'm excited. Let's see where we are come the end of the year, and it'll be awesome to document. It's a really good thing to document on the podcast, on YouTube, and on the rest of it. So it's good fun.
All right. Well, thanks again, Stephen. Thanks a lot. Happy birthday, Kim, if you're out there listening.
Happy birthday, Kim.
And to all of you out there listening, keep in mind, definitely check out SteadyTrade.com and, sign up for the mailing list. Like I talk about it a lot. Matt Monaco, our partner's doing, along with Jack and Kyle, you might know a lot of these guys. He's doing those mini episodes of the podcast as well. You can get all of those there. We're doing a weekly newsletter now, all free. Free. Everything with the podcast is free. So head over to SteadyTrade.com, sign up for the mailing list, follow us on social media, and we'll see you on the next episode.